Okay, I'm now live. I'll give a little bit of time for people to come over from another link, but I will talk about getting rid of stuff quickly. Probably won't be here for very long, but there will be an ability to chat as well. And yes, I am live, and we now have one viewer, so I will wait a little bit, up to 6. So I'm glad that some of you on the other link have found me. A moral: there's a hard and an easy way to do live on YouTube, and I think this is the easy way. How to get rid of stuff. Basically, there's going to be 4 things. If you are on the other video, then I'll remove that. That stream's not working. This one is. How to get rid of stuff quickly. Why might you do so? Well, sometimes you get so much stuff that you might want to clear a bit of room, and other cases you might have new projects or new things you might want to do, and you might need to clear out some stuff to make a good start on that. So I'm going to have sort of 4 rules. Now, you don't have to follow these rules, but in fact, if you've got other objectives, then some of the things I'll talk about aren't going to be the right things to you. But I will assume, first of all, that the items go to a useful home. Secondly, you don't bin or throw things away. Thirdly, you want to be fairly time effective. Selling stuff can take, or offloading stuff can take a lot of time. People can muck you around, a lot of tire kickers, all that sort of thing. So you want to be getting rid of your stuff quickly. Otherwise, you'll find that you've really got little time to do anything else. It can take an inordinate amount of time to get rid of one item. So, and fourthly, you can have all those 3 if you don't care too much about the dollars. If you are hanging out for top price, then yes, you might have to go to a lot of effort. You might have to present things well. You might have to be a bit more flexible with getting things to the other person. But I'm going to assume the money is not the top priority. The top priorities I mentioned before: the item going to a useful home, you avoiding throwing it in the bin, and you also saving time. And when you save time, then it means you can move on to disposing of the next item. I think the important thing is, in a nutshell, you set low prices, but you impose conditions that are convenient to you. The reason for the low prices is that, well, if people see something that's cheap, they're more likely to buy it, be enthusiastic, and even to go to some effort in getting it. If things are expensive, then people might just ignore your advertisement and not do anything about getting it. And the low price also, especially if it's extremely low, generates a degree of urgency, because they might think, oh, well, it's so cheap that it won't last on the market for long. So people might be willing to go to some effort, which helps because it saves you time. And that's I think, one of the most important things when you're trying to offload stuff, is the time it takes. And hello to Don's Locks. So good luck in the foundation. So now, of course, as the potential purchaser wanting to equip their shack or whatever, then maybe some of the things might be interest anyway. So, yep, cheap is good. So, yeah, set a low price and watch it go out the door. And that's an important thing: go out the door, preferably without you having to lay a finger or worry about things. Like, even posting things can take a lot of time. Even if your post office is only 10 minutes away or whatever. Just packing things, getting the right box, because imagine if you had some stuff and you might be having some scrap bits of newspaper or things from other packages, but when you get to the post office, you realize they don't have a post pack or a box the right size. And then you might find, oh, well, the amount that you allowed for posting, you actually have to spend more on packing materials. So if you can, okay, I'm also going to assume that you are in a metropolitan area with a reasonable population that's convenient to you. So I'm going to suggest, and this isn't guaranteed to get you the right price, a high price. In fact, it'll probably get you a low price, but try and avoid posting and try and avoid transporting things to other people's place. Unless transporting things could work, and there are not many at the moment because of COVID, but a hamfest, if maybe it could work if you want to get rid of stuff by taking it all to a hamfest and selling it cheap, giving it away. But anyway, I'm going to assume that you don't have time to either post things, which incurs an additional cost for you, or you have to build that into the price, or that you are taking stuff either to a hamfest or to the purchaser's place. So therefore, you have to impose some conditions. And one of the most important conditions is, especially given that you might want to be selling it at a low price, you can impose conditions. And one of those is that people must pick up from you. And that saves you a lot of time. Now, of course, an issue with all this sort of thing is the tire kickers, the people that are sort of interested, but they can not get back to you. And you might have people that are interested, and you don't want to be in a situation where the first person to respond has responded, but they're not really sure of the item, or not really sure if they're going to buy it. And then you might have a second person that comes to you a little bit after, but they aren't in a position to get it from you. So you really have to, in your advertisement, and I'll talk about advertising later on, list some important conditions, like the purchaser must pick up. Buy local. Unless if you're in a country area and there's not many people around, maybe you have to depend 100% on mail order type sales, but or courier or whatever. But if you are in a metropolitan area and there's a reasonable population around you, then you can ask that a requirement. It's funny that you might, even though you might say in your advertisement that it's pickup only, you still get people say that, ask you to post it and whatever. And in some cases, there was one case recently, and a lot of the cases I've been, selling recently is consumer type equipment, things like transistor radios and telephones, and some of the things you might have seen in my previous videos about picking up off the street, or other things that I'm not going to use. So I know that they work. I'm happy they work. I might have cleaned them up a little bit, but overall, I just want to get rid of them. So you might have, especially if you've listed something cheap, then you might have 2 or 3 people come after your first. Therefore, you don't want to make a commitment to the first person who responds until you've teed up a date and whatever arrangements for them to picking them up. And when it depends on another person, then it all gets quite fancy, and you really have to be quite firm sometimes. Pick up only, and you've really got to set an appointment times. People can still muck you around and break appointments and whatever, but you have to be firm on that sort of thing. There was a case though where there was something that had sat, like a transistor radio. It was only like $10, so the price was right, but it had sat there on Facebook Marketplace for a while. And anyway, there was no one who wanted to come around and get it. There was a guy who phoned up from the country, and he said, "Okay, what I'll do, I will post you a postpaid envelope," and that was fine because that had all the posting and his address and everything. So all I needed to do was to put the thing in and post it off. That was okay. I didn't have to calculate postage or whatever, so that worked. But in try and basically be cheap on the price, but be flexible or be fairly firm on the conditions. And those conditions are arranged for your benefit so that you save time. And the benefit of saving time is that you can then look to the next box in your overcrowded shed, wardrobe, cupboard, or whatever. Like there's all these layers of junk, like things you might think initially you might want to get rid of. You might think there's certain orders of getting rid of things. So you might think, okay, this will move on first. And this, works really well. It's the highest value item. You know that someone's going to buy it. So just to, keep your morale up and you need to have success. Like it's no good if you think you remove all this stuff from the cupboard, you list them and that they don't sell. And a lot of the stuff you can accumulate junk with, they don't sell very well. So as to where to sell, well, there's things like eBay. Problem is with eBay is that, they have fees now. There is, I suppose, your security depending on transactions like PayPal or whatever. Of course, if people come around, then they can just pay you cash. So there's no issue with security with them getting the item and not paying or whatever. But yeah, eBay, I've tended not to. I have used that in the past. Haven't used it recently. They've got significant fees, which all add to the complexity. Facebook Marketplace. There seems to be a general Facebook Marketplace, but there are also, for your more general items, you can have localized marketplaces for your neighborhood. There's even sometimes groups where, and if something's really cheap, then why not give it away for free? Yeah, well, yes, Australia is a big country. Hams are far apart. But the thing is that something like 70% or so, or 3/4 of Australian hams live in one of the 5 capital cities. So for the 70% in a capital city, then there's probably a reasonable market for you. If you're in the 30% who are in smaller towns or outside the main cities, then it is harder, particularly for specialized ham radio gear. So the was I mentioning in various ways you could sell. I mentioned eBay, Facebook marketing. There's various local groups. There's specific ham radio groups for Australia or wherever your country is. There's probably something there. Of course, I'm not assuming anything like radio clubs or ham fests, but that may be an option for some. Another possibility is there are dedicated amateur radio buy and sell sites, VK Ham or VK Classifieds, and WIA's got one. So, that's pretty much all I had. Basically, in summary, getting rid of stuff. Best thing is that you make a start. And you set things up so you have success early on, and you want things to go to a useful home. You don't want to be having to bin lots of stuff. You set the price low, because I'm assuming that you don't care too much about the money. Maybe your situation is different. Maybe you do need to sell stuff because you've got other costs, or you're thinking of buying another great transceiver that's brand new, and yes, you do want to recoup some of it. But a lot of stuff you see, particularly amateur stuff, might be 20, 30 years old. It is way overpriced. You shouldn't be paying 3/4 of the price of a new rig for something that's 30 years old. So a lot of people do overprice things. And the other thing is if something is cheap, as I mentioned before, yet there's a greater urgency, there's probably greater interest in the item, and you can then be a bit firmer with conditions, like people picking things up that are more convenient for you. So yeah, so definitely have a look in your cupboards and have a look at things you might not have used for years and years. Plug them in and see if they still work, and put them on the air. And if they do, then maybe you can offload them. And maybe there's, as people following this thread, people new to amateur radio who might be interested in some of the items. So it's not going to be not a very long one for me, but just thought I'd do this quick video just to get you thinking about how to get rid of stuff quickly. And if you've got more ideas, then please leave them in the there's the chat there that I'll have a look at. But if you are watching this video after it's live, then leave them down in the comments below. And of course, if you're into portable QRP, then don't forget my books, Minimum QRP. There's also 2 books on antennas. And if you're starting in amateur radio, there's Ham Radio Get Started if you're in the United States, or if you are in Australia, then the Australian Ham Radio Handbook is the book you need. And there's a few other books as well, so have a look at my website, VK3YE.com, and also on Facebook, have a look at VK3YE Radio Books. So yeah, quick video. I'll just see if there are any last minute questions. Otherwise, I'll call it a night. No, that's pretty much it. So thanks all for watching. And if you've just joined and just missed, then watch the video later on, as I'll save it there.